I wasn't supposed to be home that afternoon. She thought I was driving to my mom's 2 hours away. I forgot my phone charger and came back. When I opened the front door, I heard the shower running. I smiled, thinking maybe we'd get some time together before I left. I walked in with my charger in hand, straight into the bathroom, and saw her. Naked, with a man hunched over in the tub, wearing a city plumbing uniform. She didn't scream. She didn't even flinch. It was a mistake. That's what kept repeating in my head. A stupid, ordinary mistake. I forgot my charger. That's all. I was supposed to be gone until the next day. She knew that. That's why she thought she had time. That's why she thought she was safe. But I turned around 20 minutes into the drive, came home, and walked in through the front like nothing was wrong. The apartment smelled like eucalyptus and something else. Something sour. Sweaty. I heard the shower. I thought she was just freshening up. I called out her name. She didn't answer. I remember smiling. Actually smiling. I thought, maybe I'd catch her mid-rinse, surprise her with a kiss. Maybe we'd laugh. Maybe we'd lay in bed for a while before I left again. I walked into the bathroom without knocking. The shower curtain was half open. She was in the water. But she wasn't alone. There was a man crouched behind her, his face pressed into her neck, his arms wrapped around her waist. His pants were around his ankles, soaked. His uniform shirt still had the city plumbing patch stitched on it. And she saw me. Locked eyes with me while he kept moving. She didn't scream. She didn't even flinch. She just tilted her head slightly, like she was watching me watch her. I couldn't move. She put her hand on the plumber's shoulder, whispered something to him, and then, only then, did he stop and turn. He looked dumb, like someone who didn't know where he was. He muttered something like, "You said he'd be gone." She stepped out of the tub slowly, not even trying to cover herself. "Guess he forgot something," she said, drying her arms like I wasn't even there. I dropped the charger. It hit the tile with a clatter. She stepped over it. "Hope you're happy," she said coldly. "Now you know." I tried to speak. My throat locked. I was shaking. My body didn't know if it wanted to cry or collapse. She looked me over like I was a stain on the floor. "You shouldn't just walk into places like that," she said. "It's rude." The plumber said nothing, just grabbed his pants, still wet, and walked past me, his boots squeaking on the floor. I stood there for 10 minutes, maybe more. When I finally looked into the mirror, I didn't recognize myself. And I still heard her voice, echoing behind me. "Now you know." I didn't leave that night. I don't know why. Maybe because my keys were still in the bathroom. Maybe because I thought it would all turn out to be a nightmare. Maybe because I was too weak to move. She came out of the bedroom around 11 p.m., freshly showered, wearing my old college hoodie, the one she used to say made her feel safe. She walked into the kitchen, poured herself some cereal like it was any other Tuesday. I was still sitting on the couch, still numb, still hearing the water from the shower, the sound of his boots squeaking on our floor. She looked at me and raised an eyebrow. "Still here?" I swallowed hard. "Can we talk?" She laughed into her cereal. "About what?" "You saw what you saw." I don't understand." "Of course you don't," she snapped. "You never did." I stood up, shaking. "I love you." She blinked, then smiled. A slow, cruel smile. "Oh my God. You still think that matters?" I felt like I was going to throw up. She put the spoon down and walked toward me slowly. "You know what your problem is," she said. "You're soft. You think being loyal is some kind of virtue. You think love is enough. It's not. It never was." "But we were happy," I said. "Weren't we?" She tilted her head. "You were." I was bored. Those 4 words hit harder than anything else. "You're not a man," she said. "You're a placeholder. You were convenient. Steady. Predictable. You do what you're told. You say the right things. But you never made me feel anything." I couldn't breathe. She stepped closer. "You want the truth?" she whispered. He smelled like grease. His fingernails were black. He fixed the pipes under the sink, then pushed me against the counter. "Stop," I said. "Please." He didn't ask permission. He didn't ask if I was okay. He just took me. And for the first time in months, I remembered what it felt like to be wanted. I covered my face with my hands. And she laughed. "You thought coming back early would make you a hero? What were you going to do, bring me flowers? Hug me? Ask me how my day was?" I looked up at her, eyes burning. "I still want to fix this." She stared at me like I'd grown another head. "You were so sad," she said. "You walked in on me cheating, with a guy who unclogs toilets for a living, and you're still asking if we can fix it?" She walked to the door. "I'm going out," she said. "Don't wait up." Then she was gone. And I was left in silence, on a couch that still smelled like her perfume and someone else's sweat. She didn't come home that night. Or the next. She didn't call. Didn't text. Didn't explain. I just sat in that apartment like a piece of old furniture, watching the lights outside shift from afternoon to midnight and back again. I kept thinking maybe she'd come through the door. Maybe she'd break down crying. Maybe it was all a test. But she didn't. And it wasn't. By the third day, something inside me shifted. It wasn't anger. Not yet. It was something quieter. Something colder. I started collecting things. Not stuff from the apartment. Not her clothes or jewelry. Information. I knew her habits. Her weak spots. I'd spent the last 3 years learning them like scripture. I knew she liked attention more than affection. Validation more than truth. She built her image carefully, online and offline. Always smiling. Always flawless. A perfect little life curated through filters and performance. And I knew where the cracks were. The first thing I did was check the shared drive. She'd once asked me to help her organize receipts for tax season. She never revoked access. There it was, her side hustle. Home lifestyle consultant, she called it. She'd post staged photos of other people's homes and act like they were hers. Took deposits for redesign projects she never finished. One client even filed a complaint, buried in a folder titled Handle Later. I copied it all. Then I opened her old laptop, the one she left behind when she upgraded. Still logged into everything. Inside was a folder she probably forgot existed. _biz stuff old. There were email drafts to people she ghosted. Photos of her signing someone else's contract template. Even a Word doc titled Refund Excuses, Uses Needed. I didn't know what I was doing with it all yet, but I knew I needed it. Then I found the real key. Her second Instagram account. The one she didn't promote. The one she used to flirt anonymously with followers. Buried in the DMs were conversations with at least 4 men. All recent. All explicit. One of them was married. And I recognized him. He was a realtor we used when we toured houses 6 months ago. He shook my hand. Told me, "You're lucky, man. I saved everything." And that's when the question changed. Not, can I forgive her? But, how far am I willing to go to make her regret this? Because if she wanted chaos, if she wanted to feel something again, I was going to give her exactly that. And for once, I wasn't going to ask for permission. She came back on a Sunday afternoon, pretending nothing ever happened. She didn't explain where she'd been, didn't apologize. Just walked in, dropped her purse on the floor, and asked, "Did you do laundry?" I didn't answer. She smirked. Thought so. Then she went into the bedroom, like it was still hers. I watched her close the door. Heard music start playing through the wall, some upbeat song about being unbothered. That's when I knew I was ready. She had a new client lined up. Some influencer who'd just bought a fixer-upper in the suburbs. Big job. Big money. She was bragging about it in her stories for days, talking about the custom lighting, the eco-conscious wood, and how she'd secured a $12,000 design retainer. The client reposted her and tagged the account. That was all I needed. I created a fresh email. Chose a name that sounded professional. Then wrote, Subject, concern about your current contractor. Body. Hi, I wanted to share this in case you haven't seen it. The woman you hired has a pattern of taking deposits and ghosting mid-project. Attached her complaints from 2 other clients, plus screenshots from her own planning folder where she outlines ways to delay or deflect refund requests. I'm not trying to interfere, just protect people from what I went through. Do what you feel is right. I attached everything. Screenshots. The refund doc. Client complaint letters. Then I waited. She came out of the bedroom the next morning in a towel, humming. I was at the kitchen table pretending to scroll my phone. Her phone buzzed. She picked it up. Read something. Froze. Then again. Another buzz. Then a call. She answered. Her face drained. I don't understand, she said. I don't even know who would. She walked slowly to the couch and sat down, silent for 5 full minutes. Then she stood up, went back into the bedroom, and slammed the door. Later, I saw the story was gone. Deleted. Her profile looked sterile. No new posts. No tags. Just silence. That evening, I heard her on the phone with someone, soft voice, almost pleading. I can explain. I swear I've never done anything shady. It's just someone targeting me, jealous or bitter or something. She was unraveling. Quietly. Subtly. And I hadn't even touched the married realtor yet. I still had that in my back pocket. I wasn't going to shout. Or rage. Or threaten. No. I was going to peel her world apart layer by layer, just like she did to me, except she wouldn't hear it coming, until there was nothing left. I thought I had her cornered. Thought the silence meant I was winning. But she was just reloading. She waited 4 days. Didn't look at me. Didn't speak. Then, Friday afternoon, I came home from a quick grocery run and saw 2 men in Navy uniforms standing at our front door. One had a clipboard. The other was already taking photos of the entryway. "Are you my name?" the first one asked. "Yeah. What's this about?" "Code enforcement. We received an anonymous complaint about structural issues and unauthorized modifications made to this unit." "What?" "You've been reported for tearing out built-in shelving, altering wiring, and installing non-standard fixtures without a permit. This building's on rental property. You don't own the unit. Any modification violates your lease and city code." I couldn't breathe. They walked into my apartment, and started inspecting the place. And that's when I realized she set this up. Months ago, I tried to impress her by fixing up the living room. I swapped out light fixtures, built custom bookshelves, installed a dimmer system. She said it looked better than a contractor's job. She took photos, posted them online. I never had a permit, never told the landlord. Now she was using my own effort against me. By Saturday morning, I got an email from the property manager. Notice of lease violation. Pending eviction. Fines totaling $2,750. She sat on the couch, scrolling through her phone when I read it. I turned to her. "You did this." She smiled without looking up. "You shouldn't make enemies in your own home. That's rule 1. You filed a complaint against your own apartment?" "No," she said. "I filed it against you. Only one of us touched those walls." My voice cracked. "Where am I supposed to go?" She shrugged. "Figure it out. I heard the plumber you interrupted has a spare couch." I couldn't believe it. She wasn't just attacking back. She was kicking the floor out from under me. I packed a duffel that night. No choice. I called my cousin. Slept on an air mattress in his basement. No windows. Cold cement. And silence that echoed like failure. And still I missed her. Still wanted her to text. To say she'd gone too far. That she regretted it. But she didn't. What I got instead? A notification. She changed the password to our shared cloud. Deleted every photo of us. Posted a new picture. Her on a rooftop with champagne, captioned. Shed the weight. Found myself again. I stared at the screen for what felt like hours. She wasn't just surviving. She was celebrating. And everyone believed her. But she forgot one thing. In her rush to erase me, she left something behind. A digital receipt. A very specific one. From the realtor. For a down payment. In my name. I stared at the email for a long time. Subject, your down payment confirmation. Sender, the same realtor we toured houses with 6 months ago, the one she secretly messaged behind my back. The body of the message was simple. Hi, my name. We've received your non-refundable down payment for the property on 17th Avenue. I'll send over the final paperwork this week. Great to be working with you again. Only I hadn't made a payment. And I definitely wasn't buying a house. But the name and email? Mine. The bank account? Also mine. She'd used an old joint account I forgot we still had access to. One I opened years ago when we first moved in together. I hadn't touched it since. Just left a few $100 in it for utilities. She cleaned it out. All $3,500. I checked the logs. The transaction was authorized 2 days ago. I should have lost it. Should have called the bank, screamed at someone, filed a fraud report. But I didn't. Because in that moment, I saw something different. An opportunity. I called the realtor. Told him calmly there'd been a mistake. That I hadn't authorized any new purchases. That I appreciated his professionalism, but I'd need the documents canceled. Immediately. He was confused, but polite. Said he'd speak to the other party involved. And just like that, I had leverage. She committed real fraud. With a paper trail. But I didn't confront her. Not yet. I printed everything. Bank logs. Screenshots. Even the original email. Then I did one thing she never expected. I sent it to her new employer. She had just started doing brand consulting for a local agency. I knew because she'd bragged about it on Instagram, how the CEO handpicked me, and how she was finally being taken seriously. I sent a package labeled, urgent, ethics violation, potential identity fraud. Anonymous sender. Inside, copies of the forged bank transaction, the house documents in my name, and a letter detailing how the same person had previously been accused of staging fake contracts and manipulating client funds. I didn't wait for a reply. I didn't need one. Because 3 days later, she called me. Not texted. Called. I let it ring 5 times before answering. Her voice was shaking. No trace of smugness. Just quiet panic. Did you send something to my job? I didn't answer. She whispered, they're reviewing my contract. They said legal might get involved. I stayed silent. Then I said, you used my name. I didn't think you'd care, she snapped, suddenly angry. It was just a name on a form. No, I said. It was my name on a fraud report. She was quiet. Then, why are you doing this? I almost laughed. You burned down my life. Now I'm just returning the match. And I hung up. That night, she posted nothing. For the first time in months, no photos, no captions, no curated happiness. Just silence. And I knew. She finally understood what fear felt like. I should have known she wouldn't go down quietly. She always waited. Always played it cool until she found a pressure point to push. And she knew exactly where mine was. She couldn't undo the fraud. Couldn't erase the emails or the financial trail. But she could hit me somewhere else. My name. That weekend, my cousin knocked on the basement door where I'd been crashing. You seeing this? He asked, holding out his phone. It was a Twitter post. A photo of me from 3 years ago. Smiling. Holding a beer. Arm around my ex. My now ex. Captioned. This man is stalking me. He's emotionally unstable, has threatened me, and tried to ruin my life and career after I ended things. Ladies, stay away. It had over 3,000 shares in a day. She never tagged me. Never used my full name. But she didn't have to. People figured it out. In the replies were anonymous accounts sharing doctored screenshots of texts that looked like I'd threatened her. Others were posting fake DMs claiming I'd harassed them too. I couldn't keep up. I got a notification from my freelance platform. Account temporarily suspended pending investigation. Then my bank account froze. Then my cousin's landlord asked me to leave. You've got stuff following you, man, he said. I'm sorry, but I've got a kid. I can't risk this kind of drama in my building. Just like that, I was homeless again. With no income. No access to the money I had left. No platform to defend myself. She'd taken my silence and turned it into a story. A story where I was the villain. A story people wanted to believe. Because it was easier to root for the woman posting healing quotes and rooftop selfies than for the man who'd gone dark. I tried to message her. No response. I tried to call. Blocked. Then I got a text. From a number I didn't recognize. Next time you think about messing with someone's future, remember, yours is easier to burn. That was her. I sat in a public library that night, using the free Wi-Fi, staring at a blank screen. My name was being dragged online. My accounts were suspended. My ID had been flagged in a fraud system I hadn't even known existed. And yet, I didn't break. Because I still had one thing she didn't know I'd kept. Her old burner phone. She used to use it to message clients off the record. Said she didn't want trails that could backfire. She left it behind when she upgraded. Forgot to wipe it. I pulled it out of my duffel. Turned it on. Waited. And when the screen lit up, I saw everything. Old messages. Secret recordings. Photos. But one thread caught my eye. A chat with a man named Graham. He wasn't a client. He was her boss. And married. The messages with Graham went back months. Late-night meetups. Screenshots of hotel confirmations. Voice notes where she giggled and called him her meal ticket. Said his wife was too boring to notice anything, and that, as long as she kept his ego inflated, the checks would keep clearing. But what made me stop cold was this. A message from her to Graham, dated just 1 week before my name was dragged across the internet. If you really want me to be safe, I need you to take care of it. I can't have him near me anymore. Use your contacts. Get him flagged. She wasn't just destroying my reputation. She was using her boss's influence to do it. That explained everything: the frozen accounts, the flagged ID, the platform bans. She'd weaponized corporate strings to make me vanish. And now? Now I had all of it. I didn't react emotionally. I didn't text her. Didn't call. I did exactly what she never expected me to do. I acted like her. I printed the screenshots. All of them. The hotel bookings. The recordings. The full conversation thread, including one where she laughed about marrying rich after Graham ditches his boring wife. Then I wrote a letter. No threats. No emotion. Just facts. To Graham's wife. I told her everything. I even included a spreadsheet of their hotel stays, cross-referenced with his work trips on LinkedIn. And at the bottom, ask your husband why a burner phone with your address on the Uber history keeps pinging hotel check-ins paid with your joint card. I mailed it from a small town 40 miles outside the city. No trace. Then I waited. 3 days later, her Instagram went private. 4 days later, she deleted all her LinkedIn endorsements. 5 days later, she called me. I didn't answer, but I saved the voicemail. I know it was you. You've gone too far. You think this makes you a man? You think burning my life down makes you right? Her voice cracked. They put me on leave. Graham's wife found out. Everything is falling apart. There it was. The crumble. The silence I'd waited for. She posted nothing for a week. No quotes. No filters. No rooftop selfies. Just static. And then, an email from the branding agency she worked for. The one I'd reported her to earlier. It was forwarded anonymously. Subject: formal termination, breach of conduct, and undisclosed conflict of interest. Attached: a copy of the report. She was out. Jobless. Publicly disgraced. Financially stranded. And I hadn't even sent the full package yet. I still had her fraud files. Her client scams. Her fake testimonials. But I didn't move. I waited. Because I wanted her to feel it. Not just lose. Collapse. And then, one night, as I was checking the burner phone one last time, a message appeared. From an unknown number. I'm pregnant. I stared at the message on the burner phone. I'm pregnant. 2 words. That's all it took. Everything stopped. My breath. My pulse. My ability to think. Because what if it was true? What if, after everything, every lie, every setup, every humiliation, she had just pulled the one card I couldn't fight? I didn't respond. Not immediately. She messaged again. We need to talk. You can hate me, but you can't ignore this. Then, I'm keeping it. That night, I sat on the curb outside the shelter where I'd been crashing since my cousin's landlord kicked me out. I looked around at the parked cars, the flickering street lamp, the silence pressing in from every direction. She'd taken everything. Now she was taking the future. I called her. She answered on the first ring. I knew you'd call, she said. I didn't say anything. She continued. I took a test. It's real. And before you ask, yes, it's yours. You're the only one it could be. That wasn't true. And we both knew it. But she kept going, her voice soft and slow, like she was comforting herself more than me. You don't have to be part of it. I'll raise it alone. But if you ruin me now, if you go through with whatever you're planning, you won't just be hurting me. She let the silence hang. You'll be hurting your child. And that broke something in me. She knew exactly what she was doing. Knew I was the kind of man who couldn't live with the idea of being a villain to his own kid. I don't want to fight anymore, she said. I just want to start over. Clean slate. Let's stop this before we both lose everything. I hung up. Didn't sleep that night. My thoughts spiraled. What if she was telling the truth? What if this wasn't a tactic, but a trap with consequences I couldn't undo? By morning, I was ready to give in. Not to her, but to peace. To walking away from it all. Letting her win this one. Taking the loss and living with it. I opened the drawer where I kept the USB. The one with the full archive of everything. Tax fraud, client scams, voice memos, burner chats. I held it in my hand. And then, my phone buzzed. One new message. From an unknown number. Attached was a photo. A man, shirtless, lying in her bed. Same headboard. Same sheets. Taken last week. And right behind him? Her. Same smile. Same smirk. Captioned. Miss you already, sweat droplets, can't believe I'm doing this before the test even clears. No name. No context. But the sender? Her plumber. The second I saw the photo, everything inside me went still. Not angry. Not hurt. Just still. Like something in me had finally run dry. It was her. In bed. With him. The same man from the shower. Same plumber's build. Same dead eyes. The timestamp said 6 days ago. Right in the middle of her crying voicemails. Right after she told me she was pregnant. Right before she begged for peace. She hadn't changed. Not even a little. But this time, I didn't feel the need to shout. Because I didn't need revenge anymore. I had it. She just didn't know it yet. I called my lawyer. Told him to proceed. He sent the USB to the IRS, the brand clients she'd scammed, and the ethics board that handled small business fraud cases in our district. He also contacted the realtor company that handled the house she tried to buy in my name. Forwarded the documentation with her forged bank activity. Each email delivered with timestamps, screenshots, recorded voicemails, voice-to-text transcripts. Every lie lined up in black and white. Then I waited. 2 days later, she showed up. Not with a text, not with a voicemail. In person. She banged on the shelter door until one of the volunteers found me and said, "There's someone here. She won't leave." I stepped outside. She was standing in the cold, hair wild, makeup streaked, holding a folder of paperwork and what looked like a pregnancy test in a Ziploc bag. "I didn't mean for any of this," she whispered. "I can explain the photo." I said nothing. She dropped to her knees. Right there, on the pavement, hands clasped, crying. "They froze my account," she sobbed. "The IRS is opening a case. The agency fired me. The realtors threatening to sue. I have nothing left." I stared at her. "You still think I'm pregnant," she added, almost desperate. But I didn't move. "You can ruin me completely," she said, voice shaking. "You can destroy every last piece of me. But I'm asking you, begging you not to." She held out the folder. Inside was a signed statement, handwritten, confessing everything. The lies, the fraud, the fake posts, the manipulation, even the burner account. A full confession. "If you don't want to forgive me, fine. But please, don't make me disappear." And for the first time since this began, I saw her. Not the girl who smirked in the shower. Not the one who laughed while I begged. Just a person. Ruined. Exposed. Alone. I took the folder. Looked at her for a long time. Then I said the only words that felt honest. "I forgive you." And I turned around. As I stepped back inside, I didn't feel victorious. I felt clean. Empty, but clean. And now, what would you do in my place?